Hi.
Sit down, let's set some levels and get to work.
Right here?
This would be great.
You know, my kids are good eaters. They love the meat.
Apples and trees.
We're at a barbecue over the weekend. They had like a Persian grill set up, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And they did a bunch of lamb chops. I'm not sure my kids have ever had lamb chops. I don't cook them often. Not that I dislike them, just my wife doesn't like them and their work. My oldest son loved the lamb chops. He literally ended up eating 5 of them.
Wow.
After the second lamb chop, he walked up to the table with a bone in his mouth. And he's like, Daddy, I want more lamb chops. I was like, well, they're on the grill. You have to wait a minute. And I was like, why don't you give me the bone? I'll throw it away. The kid looked at me and growled like a dog because he had the bone in his mouth. I was like, whoa, you had to keep that one, son.
Not giving this up, Dad.
There was no meat. I was like, what are you doing? He's like, I like the flavor, as he's just chewing on the bone. And I was like, wow.
I'm sucking out the marrow.
Quiet, please.
We hit something primordial with that party over the weekend. But yes,
And 4.
do not try to take a meat bone out of one of
3,
my son's mouths, apparently.
2.
The Apple Company presents a truly terrible podcast. Welcome to Nonsense Season 4, Episode 18. I'm Jeff Parker.
I'm CJ Little.
This is our take on the week's business, tech, and entertainment headlines. This time, engineering under fire has turned Ukraine into a drone superpower.
It's taken a war with Iran for us to finally recognize Ukraine's amazing engineering prowess.
Wow, that's true.
Yay, us.
Meta reportedly eyes 20% staff cuts to fuel AI ambitions.
So when they said Meta AI is powered by people, I didn't realize they were powering it using the actual flesh of people.
Hormone disruptors found in popular audio gear.
Good news, my mono gear now identifies as stereo.
The great brain drain. Will Trump's $100,000 H-1B visa fee push the next Google to Canada?
I'm feeling lucky, eh?
Also, our big story later this week is about the real reasons the government is hiding their UFO data.
They mislabeled it. That's why they're hiding it. They just can't find it.
They've misplaced it?
Yeah, they have like the recipe index cards, like all the 3x5s. It's in there.
Oh, okay. That's how they keep it, 3x5 cards?
That's how you hide it, right? Like you want to hide your valuables, you put it with something that's not valuable.
Happy St. Patrick's Day, my friend.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that.
St. Patrick was not Irish. Did you
No.
know that? Everybody thinks he was Irish. He was not. He was kidnapped at the age of 16 from his family's British estate and taken to Ireland as a prisoner.
Why did they kidnap him?
They wanted the green beer. I have no idea.
He refused to give up the secret recipe of the green beer.
And he went back to Britain, and then
Yeah.
he came back as a missionary to Ireland and supposedly drove the snakes out of Ireland. That's the legend. He drove the snakes out of Ireland,
Yeah.
ignoring for a moment that there were no snakes in the island of Ireland.
I am looking forward to the larger-than-life bronze statue they put down in front of City Hall for driving all the moose out of Los Angeles.
That's what you did, St.
what it'd be
CJ?
like. Yeah.
I never see moose anymore in Los Angeles.
You're welcome.
Absolutely incredible. Used to go to Tom Bergen's with my friend Tucker.
Yeah, for St. Patrick's Day.
It was such a happy memory. He has passed on now, so now it's a happy and sad memory. I have a lot of happy memories from those mornings.
Between Tom Bergen's and Molly Malone's down the street, you can get your Irish fill in one day.
Man, oh man.
That was fun.
How is your week going?
My week has been lovely. I don't know if you know this or not, but summertime is here and it is ready to go.
Boy, is it ever.
We spent all weekend at pool parties with some friends. The kids were in the pool. We were barbecuing. We were having a blast. It's
beautiful.
It was absolutely enjoyable. I do apologize to all of our friends and listeners in the Midwest and the East.
Right.
I think the Upper Peninsula, as of the time of recording, of Michigan still is without power, most of it, because it has been, they're getting snow measured in feet. Like they're not even telling you inches. They're just like, oh, I got 2 feet last night. Oh.
And the South is about to get smacked too.
Yeah, it's been really nuts. But here we're just like, fortunately, we have that dome created by the overpriced gasoline that we pay for that just keeps us all.
Is that what it is?
I think that's how it works. I'm not sure, but it sure has been nice. It's been lovely. I really can't complain. You know that it's definitely getting to be summertime in Southern California when the 2 shelves that have my pants and sweaters on them all go into little bins, and I don't see them again until October. They just go away.
Wow.
And it's all shorts and short sleeve shirts.
They do that automatically. It's sort of
They
like
do.
Groundhog Day.
They know that their time is limited, and it
They don't see their shadow, so they go into storage.
They don't.
Yeah.
No.
To those of you who don't live in California, it's crowded here.
Yeah.
It's super expensive.
Miserable.
You do not want to live here. The restrictions on everything you do are just outrageous.
Yep. The laws.
The strange liberals and the things they force us to do.
Terrible.
Do not move to. It's awful here.
Yes.
To those of you who live in California, woohoo!
No, it's been great. Like I said, I've got no complaints. I feel like we get this. My basic view of Southern California is it rains 2 weeks out of the year, and then it's just beautiful the rest of the time. Yeah. And I'm fine with that.
Yeah, sure.
I quite enjoy that, to be honest. How about you? How was your week?
Did you watch the Oscars?
I did not. I was at a pool party, as I mentioned earlier, and couldn't be bothered to watch the Oscars while at the pool party.
The Oscars are just not my show anymore. It used to be Don't Miss TV, but they have become Don't Miss TV again for me with Conan O'Brien. So clever, so funny. It started off a year ago when Conan O'Brien first came out.
Yeah.
The very first line line. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome four-time Academy Award watcher Conan O'Brien.
Such a perfect Conan line. Such a perfect,
just
Conan
great.
line. Sure.
And fantastic this year. Just solid all the way through. Conan, absolutely for the win.
Awesome.
I'm not sure the Oscar show even had a mixer this year. If you listen to it,
sound mixer?
The sound was absolutely dreadful. Terrible mic choices, terrible mic placement. Best sound will definitely not go to the 98th Academy Awards. There's like a voiceover announcer when someone is announced as a winner. As people come up, so-and-so has been nominated 70 times. For the life of me, I could not hear whatever that person was saying, where they were mixing it so low. But I mean, that was one of a million sound problems.
You would think that the things the people are saying would also be important in those shows.
Clearly. The Academy Award doesn't think that.
Yeah.
Also, Academy, maybe don't give out awards if you have no interest in what the winners have to say.
Yeah, I think isn't that the point of the award show, is you give them the awards?
Enough with the orchestra jumping in, and this year the mic sinking into the stage.
What?
Oh, yeah.
The mic went into the stage?
Yeah. Golden made history as the first K-pop song to win an Oscar. May I please hear from both the song's writers?
Sure.
The second songwriter comes up to the mic to give a speech, and the mic just sinks down into the stage.
Did they grab it?
Oh, my God.
And try to wrestle it back to the stage? That's what I would have done.
No, because he's a very nice person, but it's still like, this is so awful.
Yeah.
Maybe we don't need the 8-hour bridesmaid reunion on stage. Maybe we could have done that.
Yeah.
I had 2 birthdays during that segment. Yeah.
Okay, listen. I'd like to see them try to pull that trick with like Nicholson. He's just going to procure a 7-iron out of his pocket and just go bananas on that.
And go
thing.
after the orchestra leader.
Exactly. Well, could you see that? Yeah, turns out that is a high risk job. Work comp for being the orchestra leader at the Oscars when Nicholson is nominated is.
That's true. Although I was going to say I miss violence at the Oscars, but then I remember like the last time we had violence at the Oscars. I don't miss that at all. That's fine.
It was better when he just ate spaghetti, wasn't it?
Yeah. On the plus side, it was the best and saddest in memoriam segment ever.
Wait, the best? What? Were there a bunch of people you were hoping were dead? Yeah. What was it the best?
The best because they didn't try to have a singer competing with the slides of who passed away. It was just music, and you could actually see and read that, you weren't trying to show the singer at the same time. You were trying to show this guy and that guy who passed away. So it actually was quite delightful. They stopped a couple of times for little speeches inside that were wonderful. Billy Crystal kicked it off with an amazing tribute to Rob Reiner that was wonderful. It was absolutely delightful. It was a nice tribute to those who have passed. Shall we get to our headlines?
We should before we're canceled. It's coming soon.
The $50 billion Ukraine drone disruptor.
Yeah.
Kyiv is flipping the script on modern warfare. Once a desperate recipient of Western aid, Ukraine is leveraging its battle-hardened tech to become a global defense powerhouse. The headline act, a massive $50 billion drone pipeline targeting the Middle East. From kamikaze sea drones to AI-driven swarms, these systems offer a lethal return on investment that has Gulf nations reaching for their checkbooks. This strategic shift is anchored by a massive $50 billion strategic drone deal proposed by President Zelensky. The deal seeks to trade Ukrainian tactical brilliance in electronic warfare systems for the high-end technology and capital needed to scale Kyiv's domestic production to 7 million units annually. By transforming from a victim of aggression to a premier vendor, Kyiv is securing its economic future and shifting the geopolitical axis. It's a masterclass in turning necessity into a dominant global brand.
First of all, let's not lose sight of the fact that Ukraine has paid for this, not just in necessity, but in blood. Real blood.
Yeah.
It's pretty nuts that they are now the leader of this, and it puts them into some modicum of power, which frankly they shouldn't need to get the support that they deserve.
They should get, yes.
But what's kind of fascinating to think about this, first of all, these numbers are insane. You're like $50 billion. Like, how could you even do this? They're currently cranking out 100,000 drones a month. Currently, right? That's the current numbers that they're at. So
3,000 drones a day, something like that.
They're already doing 1 million plus a year. So, right, they want to go up sort of 5x, 6x that, which certainly seems feasible. 50 billion seems like a giant number. I think my hunch is they're going to lever that like sort of like a you buy one, we get one sort of thing, right? They want to be able to produce more for themselves as well.
Of course. Which
they will be able to do. You'll get economies of scale at this, which is pretty nuts.
BOGO drones.
It's a BOGO. It's a drone BOGO, exactly. What I think is kind of more interesting to consider on this is they've presented this as like, oh yeah, hey, we're happy to help, right? And they've come to the US and said like, yes, we would love to help you. Here are these drones. Now, if the US says no, and we don't no, we don't need your tech. We got the Sony My First Drone kit over here. We're fine. Then could the Ukraine just be like, all right, second bidder, Iran, are you interested in drone tech?
Oh, they have made deals with Saudi Arabia, and the UAE have signed smaller, huge, but smaller individual contractors for interceptors and tech.
But those are at least on kind of the same side, sort of, if you will.
Yeah.
So I was just curious, like, do they have a commit to us if we're not going to help them?
This is actually the thing that's frustrating everyone is Trump was waffling on the deal, and it's like a great deal. Not just because they make quantity drones.
Yes.
Those drones are amazing. The engineering, the quality of the engineering engineering is absolutely outstanding.
It's the best product that's out there. Like, absolutely, we should get it.
The way that Ukraine has innovated on drones because of necessity has been mind-blowing.
Yeah. Many of these drone manufacturers are a handful of years old. They've started since the conflict with Russia.
Right.
And they're just cranking out this massive volume. Again, not because they're doing it to make profit, they're doing it to stay alive.
Yeah. I have some Ukrainian home automation technology.
Really?
It's fantastic. Oh, yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, this is very interesting to see how this is going to go down. They've gone from being this sort of, viewed as a recipient of aid, it was really a lot more than that, to now not just a pioneer, but a leader in this tech. And that I can't imagine anybody would have better than this.
I do not understand why the U.S. has not come to the Ukrainians' aid in a bigger, more aggressive, decisive way.
I mean, we're currently using Patriots to shoot down these drones. These drones cost around like 15, 20 grand. And we're using a Patriot, which is like a multi-million-dollar missile.
Oh, yeah.
It's like we are literally using the golden hammer to go hit these things. Like, maybe we shouldn't do that. So the Ukrainian solution gets us more parity, where you're getting something like $15,000, $20,000 interceptor drones that you can now throw at this. So you're getting 80x of those drones. Wow, math. that just seems like what a deal that is.
They are very efficient. I mean, the drones that they started out using, they were using some inexpensive Turkish drones that were like $100,000 each.
Yeah.
After we had offered them drones that were hundreds of millions of dollars. So these much cheaper Turkish drones that they were starting out with, they managed to make work because Russia was not able to jam their radios.
Yeah.
Now they've come up with their own drones, and they're all sorts of specialty drones, and so much better than anything that existed before.
I mean, they've made a bunch of mistakes, right? That's how you get to be good. You learn from your mistakes. Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Smart people.
The idea of having a massive drone wall, right? Like, so you go to the Olympics and you see the drones flying around, spelling little things out in the sky. Like, oh, it's cute. It's the Olympic rings. But thinking about that from a defense perspective is really fascinating. And it's just how much warfare has changed from giant ICBMs to a bunch of these little tiny mosquitoes that are basically going to protect you and even go on the offensive. It's incredible.
Zelensky warned that a protracted war in Iran could drain global supply of air defense missiles like the Patriot that Ukraine still desperately needs for its own survival against Russia.
That's an interesting swap. That's what they should do. We'll give you 4 drones for every Patriot that you give us.
Right.
They're in the money.
While Ukraine is exporting its tech, it must ensure that it doesn't demilitarize itself. Zelensky's strategy is to allow controlled exports.
Yeah, of course. It's a balance.
By private companies to boost the national treasury without depleting the frontline drone wall.
It's also interesting to note that part of how they got here and why I think they, being the Ukrainian drones, are going to be so much more effective is Iran pioneered that Shahed drone that they exported to Russia to help destroy Ukraine. So those lessons learned were against Iranian drones, right? The Ukraine has worked with these drones already.
Right.
So they already sort of know what the soft spots are, if you will, or how to counter them. So they already have this experience baked in from the last 3-4 years of fighting, which there's no price you could put on that, right? That's invaluable.
You hate the way they got this expertise, but wow, is it cool what they've done with it.
But they have it now.
Meta cuts human staff to fund $135 billion AI infrastructure. Meta is reportedly preparing a massive workforce reduction that could eliminate up to 20% of its staff, potentially impacting approximately 16,000 employees. This historic move, first reported by Reuters on March 13th, marks the company's largest layoff round since the 2022-2023 year of efficiency, not that many years ago. The primary driver is the skyrocketing cost of the AI arms race. Meta plans to spend up to $135 billion this year alone on data centers and infrastructure to power its upcoming Avocado and Mango AI models.
Well, that'll go good with the Chips and Salsa Act.
To fund these expensive bets, top executives have reportedly instructed senior leaders to begin streamlining operations. While Meta has officially dismissed these reports as speculative, the potential cuts signal a fundamental shift toward an AI-assisted workforce where automation replaces traditional human roles.
That, I think, is probably net positive. 20% is a big number. I don't know how much of this was metaverse related. They still seem like they had a lot of people that were in that group.
Not nearly that many. They've been getting rid of that group for a while.
I think they're talking about a $100+ billion annual spend. That's their current spend, right? Like $135 billion.
Yeah.
These cuts total around $6 billion. So not even a drop in the bucket of supporting what they're trying to do here, right? I mean, that's 5%. So extremely small number. But it's very interesting to see how this is progressing. My hunch is they're going to keep investing in AI. Clearly, that's the race.
Yeah.
And I also read that they're targeting a manager to contributor ratio of 1 to 50, which is kind of fascinating. That to me is what you're going to see happen with this is more orchestration, folks managing more things is what you're going to see.
I don't understand how any of this is going to play out. The more I think about it, the more it's like, as chips get more powerful and require less power to operate, don't all these data centers just diminish in value quickly?
Well, yes, that's what happened before, right? Remember data centers in 2000 2000 were like super exciting, but they became very unexciting because it was completely commoditized, and you didn't the physical space and power that you had an upper bound on. Technology was getting smaller and more efficient within that same space. So building more data centers make a ton of sense.
Yeah.
I think the X factor here, though, is we don't know how much we need, and that's what's fueling this fire. Is we don't know how much space or how much processing we need. Is there going to be some amazing AGI that requires 2,000 petaflops for me to ask a simple question to? We don't know. I think that's what's really fueling this, is the unknown of what the upper bound looks like.
But eventually we do.
There has to be a flattening to the curve at some point.
How does this end well for anyone who's spending like this so aggressively?
So that's a great question. I really think it's a race. It's an existential race. There's only going to be a couple winners. So you have to spend, otherwise you're dead. You're not going to survive. If you're not the winner, if you're not the top 3, whatever the number is going to be, the rest are going to be gone. They're going to get gobbled up because they're not going to make it. So you have to spend this in order to get there. It's the only way to stay alive.
Those of us who come from the sound world remember when a sound studio that you would come and record your album on, that it was millions of dollars worth of gear.
Yep.
And now it's
totally miniaturized.
Now people are making their albums on a commodity PC, and they sound great. They sound better than they did then. Than they did.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. I mean, that is the general nature of tech.
Isn't this where this goes?
Yes, I think at some time scale it does, for sure. That's always been the case with tech. However, we don't know where that is. Is that in 5 years? Is that in 15 years? Is that in 30 years? We don't know, because I don't think we know how powerful the thing is that we're going to want to run on it. And that to me is the real unknown. If you take some modicum of history and reality, you go, well, this is not really a stick up to the right? It's more of like it's a climb for a while. And just as you're saying, it'll level out in a year or two, and you'll have so much processing power on your phone, you can run most of those models. That might be the case, but it's also possible that we get some giant breakthrough. And if you've got an AGI running in the cloud that can just do all this stuff for you, and I'm running, Llama 3 on my phone, I'm a knife in a gunfight, right? I'm a knife in a ICBM fight. You're not competitive. And I think we don't know what that looks like. That to me is the biggest problem.
It just seems like existing models are going to be 50% of what they are next year, but that additional 50% is not going to add.
Agree.
It's not going to add another 50% of utilitarian value.
I think you're thinking incrementally. It's the non-incremental step that is the most jarring. It's the one where you go from, this is an AI that you can train on models, to this is something that's as smart as all humanity ever. Now, would you want to have that in your pocket?
Aren't we close to that now? When I ask my AIs, various AIs, virtually any question, now half the time maybe they're making it up, I don't know. But I think most of the things do check out, and you say, this is
getting better.
This is somebody it is very much like having the smartest person in the world in my pocket.
It is, but what about all of that is the combination of human knowledge, right? It's not really figuring much out. Maybe you're asking it a question in a different way or about some other thing, but it's piecing together previous human knowledge. I think the next big breakthrough is when it transcends that, when it transcends human knowledge, or known human knowledge, I should say.
Executing complex tasks. That's
not just complex tasks, but just being like,
we're going to.
For example, hello, Gemini. What's the cure for cancer? And then it just tells you like that. Like it hasn't been done before.
They actually tried that for a dog cancer, and it worked.
Well,
they were correct. I'll put the link in the show notes. You have to read this story about this dog cancer.
But that's what's so crazy is like you're getting to this place now where it's answering questions we don't know the answer to. And we've talked about this in the show before.
Yeah.
At some point, I suspect we're going to stop fact checking those things because we can't, right? You don't have the time or the resources. You have to go, it's been right most of the time before. And it says because...
I have to say, I haven't seen a hallucination in quite a while.
Yeah, but I feel like that's apples and oranges.
I'm not going to court with cases that are just made up, though.
Yeah.
I would definitely fact check if I were going to use something somewhere.
But that's use
that information.
Again, so court cases is an interesting one because to me, that's all referential known knowledge, right? You should be able to go search that and be like, I can validate this case. I can validate that what it says is real. When it gets to things that we don't know, and then beyond that, things that we don't understand, what do you do? If it says, you have turns out you have stage 3 kidney cancer, you need to go eat 2 sticks of rosemary and put your head in the sand for an hour and then drink some bleach, 10 milliliters of bleach, and you'll be cured. What? Like, you go first. I mean, that's good. Like,
first. Yes,
yeah, exactly. But you're going to get there with stuff that we just don't know. And to me, it shows how prophetic the 30-year-old movie Contact was. That's sort of what Contact was. It wasn't an AGI, but we thought it was some extraterrestrial, knowledge source that transmitted these plans that we built, and we dropped Jodie Foster in a little ball through a thing, and she went and had this amazing experience. And they're like, no, you just fell through and landed at the bottom. It was all made up, which is right. We don't know. Like, we are you and I are likely going to see that in our lifetime. And that is mind-bending to me of what that's going to look like. But we don't know. Is that next year? Is it in 5 years? Is it in 15 years? We don't know. Yeah. But it does seem to be coming.
The job disruption is coming within 5 to 10 years.
The job disruption is coming now, for sure.
Massive seismic shift. But the big one, though, you're going to have an even much bigger seismic shift.
But I'm not entirely convinced that it's all going to become Wall-E. Like, no. In some ways, we're more Wall-E now because of the entertainment complex than I think what tech is going to do to it, right? We already have a bunch of folks who just want to be amused the entire time.
Sure.
Like, I think that's been a slow burn over, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 years. Thanks, television and TikTok. But I think the opportunity for humans to do more, and we've never been short of problems. I've said this before. We've never been short of problems.
Sure.
That's where I think this is going. And that, to me, is the most exciting part. So if you're excited about solving problems, this is great.
Bring up a ton of human labor to attack new things we've never been able to get to.
If you're afraid that you're not going to be doing the things that you've been doing, then yes, you have a good reason to be afraid. But you should not be afraid of that. You should embrace that. Yeah. That's what's coming.
When someone asked for a comment, Meta spokesman Andy Stone said, "This is speculative reporting about theoretical approaches." Which, if you have your Rosetta Stone, you can put that up and you can see what it means is pink slips coming Friday.
I didn't appreciate that. So they're not confirming it. They're just saying it was leaked, and we don't.
Absolutely not.
Oh, all right, Andy. We'll be back here next week for another quote and see what you say. Theoretical approaches. We're also considering just taking all crackers out of the snack bar. We can also get the $6 billion a year in that. We spend $6 billion a year with Frito-Lay. So it's a trade-off. What do you want to do?
Poison in your playlist. Why headphones are leaking toxins. A groundbreaking EU-funded study has sent shockwaves through the consumer electronics industry after finding that 100% of the 81 headphone models tested contained hazardous hormone-disrupting chemicals. The investigation, part of the Tox-Free Life for All project, revealed that popular brands including Apple, Samsung, Bose, and JBL are using plastics laden with bisphenol, phthalates, and flame retardants. While these devices don't pose an immediate acute danger, researchers warn that the cocktail effect, where long-term daily exposure, compounded by the heat and sweat of regular use, could lead to significant reproductive and neurodevelopmental health risks.
You would think if they called it the cocktail effect, it would be like delicious and more enjoyable than that. It doesn't sound like fun.
While the concentrations are low, the constant contact nature of the wearable tech has sparked an immediate regulatory backlash. Major chains across the EU aren't waiting for a formal ban. They're scrubbing shelves to dodge a PR nightmare.
I mean, this is the problem when you wear this tech in it. You get these toxins leaked into your body. We just all need to go nude. Yeah, but what tech doesn't have plastics in it?
There's so much plastic, yeah. Actually, the plastics that are inside the tech.
Like my like when we talked about this before regarding like cooking and food storage. Sure, you can make it all out of iron. I don't want AirPod Iron Max. That sounds terrible. It's a headset that weighs 26 pounds.
Your neck is just aching by the end of the day. Sure.
My neck would be giant. I'd have The Rock's neck just walking around, just carrying this giant thing on my head. Like, could you imagine walking through the metal detector at the airport? Like AirPod Iron Max? Yeah.
I like that it's not even steel, it's iron. So it's like dripping rust out of your ears as you do your run.
No, if you're going to do it... Totally. Do you think we can make it a fad like faded jeans, where like you see who has the most rust on their headphones? Like that's the most OG guy.
That's how much you worked out. It's the drips of rust.
Totally. Well, this in many ways, yes, I want to open the Pandora's box on this, but much like when we talked about plastics last week, man, this is a rabbit hole once you get in there and you're like, oh, all of these things are terrible for me. Like they're all terrible, all of it. I thought this study was really interesting. They split up the testing into 3 basic chunks. Yeah. They tested the things that touch your skin, the things that don't touch your skin, and then an overall score. And they did a sort of a green, yellow, red. Green being meets all industry standard expectations. Yellow's like you're at least legally compliant, but not as good as you can be. And red is you just fail. Yeah. And it was really interesting to see how that played out. It does seem like there's a market for folks. Like if you have a pair of headphones and you can replace the cups or put some sort of like the thing that touches your head, where they can make it out of cotton or some wool, some sort of material that you have less worry about than whatever the plastic crap is. Like some, artisan. I go buy my $300 Bose headphones and I can buy $80 cups that are customized on Etsy that don't have these risks. Like I know some people are doing that. I've bought different cups for some of my headphones in the past.
Sure, I have too.
But I'm sure they weren't good. Yeah. I'm sure they weren't good for me. Just more of the same plastic crap, right?
Everyone is panicking over Trump's new $100,000 visa levy. President Trump's proposed $100,000 fee for H-1B visas has sent shockwaves through the tech industry, transforming a standard hiring process into a luxury gamble. Proponents claim the levy protects American jobs by forcing companies to prioritize local talent over cheaper foreign labor. However, critics argue the math doesn't work. For startups and mid-sized firms, the cost is prohibitive, threatening to drain the the U.S. of specialized innovators who fuel the Silicon Valley. Universities warn of a brain drain as top international graduates flee to Canada or Europe. Meanwhile, industry giants fear the policy will spike consumer prices and drive operations offshore. By treating high-skilled talent as a tax revenue stream rather than a competitive asset, the administration risks cooling the very economy it aims to protect.
I have so many issues with this. We talked about this before. One, most of these jobs, there isn't someone else who's applying for it that's not on an H-1B.
Yeah, who's qualified.
This is like having hired folks on H-1Bs. It's extremely difficult and expensive before the $100,000 tax.
Sure.
So I would certainly hire somebody in that locality, if I wanted them in the U.S. before I would do an H-1B. We're just out of people. We've got more jobs that we want to tackle than people.
Also, specialty engineers and things like that who know things that no other people know.
Yeah.
It's not like you can just go down to your local.
You're not giving them a discount.
Yes.
So that's like, but maybe that's the more esoteric problem. I think what is going to hit people more close to home on this is H-1Bs aren't just used by folks in the tech industry and super nerds.
It's used by everybody.
You've got, there's something like 5% of all H-1B petitions are going to medical professionals.
Oh, yeah.
And these are especially people that are willing to work in what we call medically underserved areas.
Sure.
And you can't get U.S. doctors and U.S. healthcare professionals to go there. So those clinics now are going to have, they can't pay $100,000 on top to have somebody come in and work there. That's going to be hit hard.
Sure.
And you see that with teachers as well, especially areas that are underserved with teachers.
$100,000 fee for a $50,000 a year teacher doesn't make any sense. Right?
And this was cited in Alaska, where Alaska has a hard time getting folks to come there and teach, which makes it hard for them to get people to come there and stay there to raise a family if they don't have good schools.
Sure.
And they've used folks, I think, especially from the Philippines there. And now they're like, the state of Alaska can't afford to pay $100,000 for each one of these that they've got there.
Okay, enough with the headlines. In fact, enough with this episode. We have to get out of here. Special thanks to our floor director, Tara Chandler.
Thank you, Tara.
We'll be back later this week with our big story, the 2026 transparency mandate, the silent war over unidentified aerial phenomena data. Until then, thank you for listening to all this nonsense. I'm Jeff Parker.
Aliens. It's just about aliens. Why all those other words? Just aliens. I'm an alien, CJ Little.
Nanu. See you next time.
Okay, got it. Aliens, Thursday.
See you then.
The Davong Systems DSi 501 fixed disk drive. One low price buys you the expanded storage, speed, and reliability of a Winchester technology hard disk system. Designed for the IBM personal computer by Davong Systems, Inc.
Wow.
Full software support includes an installation program and complete diagnostics. The DS501 disk drive runs both IBM DOS and QNX, a Unix-like operating system for the IBM personal computer.
Okay.
Take this ad to your participating Computerland dealer. Ask for the $6,800 hard disk system by Davong.
Wow, $6,800. How big is this hard drive? You don't have to tell me, don't tell me that, because if you do, then I'll know exactly what year.
Yes, I'm giving you a two-part on this one. You have to guess the size and the year.
Yeah.
I will tell you one thing, which you always know to be true. That dollar amount is cost adjusted for today dollars.
Sure. So if I can run that back till it's probably, what would you pay for a hard drive? IBM personal computers is the hint. That's the time. IBM DOS is the big hint.
That's a big hint.
Winchester technology, not quite as specific because that existed for a while.
Yep.
So I'm guessing probably in the early 80s, Computerland became Computerland in like 77.
Yes.
They had been, believe it or not, before that, they were Computer Shack.
Yes.
Right? If you remember, they were Computer Shack, and Radio Shack got very upset about that.
You need more names with Shack in it.
Right?
Yeah.
And so they became Computerland, which I think is a much better name.
Yeah? You're so good at this.
So I'm going to go after 77 before the mid 80s. Let's make it 1982.
And how big?
And the disk drive had to be at least 5 megabytes, maybe 10. Am I close?
Look at you just doubling it like it was nothing. 10 megabytes. Listen to you.
I'm going to go with 5. I'll go with 5.
You yes, it's actually in the number there. It's in the product number.
Oh, I didn't look.
It is 5 megabytes. It's actually 6.8 megabytes unformatted, 5 megabytes usable.
Yeah.
What's interesting, you nailed the year, it is 1982 is when this ad is from. Interestingly, this DSi 501, it appears to be a rebranded Tandon TM501.
Okay.
Does the name Tandon mean anything to you?
Not a thing.
Okay, I sort of recognize this name, and I think this is why this is somewhat interesting. Tandon Corporation was initially an American disk drive drive PC manufacturer from the mid-70s. They made floppy disk drives. They made the read-write heads.
Oh, the double-sided.
For the floppy drive market. Yes. They were the guys that are credited with inventing the double-sided, double-density version of floppy drives.
Sure.
Which became very popular in the early 80s. So they were the guys that made basically everything you saw in the trash 80s.
Yeah.
I think they made them for the Apple computers. And then they said, oh, well, okay, we got to make hard drives as well. And they started making hard drives. They didn't have a huge hard drive business. They ended up selling it, I think, in 1988 to Western Digital for $80 million, which in today's money is $250 million. So that was a pretty big acquisition then.
Sure.
I went and pulled the spec sheet on this TM501, the same drive as the DSi 501. Let me just throw a couple things at you that I think is just amazing to show how far we've come.
Okay.
The DSi 501, it had 5 amps of startup current.
Wow.
That is insane, right? When you turn this thing on, it drew 5 amps. It's like a microwave.
Sure.
Compared to these days, you're less than half of that. Like this is, again,
Sure.
just startup current, not to keep it spinning. The average access time on this drive was 320 milliseconds.
Wow.
A third of a second.
Wow.
So compared to drives today that are typically between 8 and 15 milliseconds, right? So effectively 2 orders of magnitude less, which is also bananas. Now, this is the one that I love the most.
I could scroll through a reel of punch tape faster than that.
Basically, you could. That's what it was doing,
Sure.
I think, inside. It was a very small Keebler elf scrolling through punch tape. This is the one that broke my brain the most. The MTBF, so that is the mean time between failure for our non-nerd listeners.
Sure.
So current drives, you're in the sort of 1.2 to 2.5 million hours of MTBF. Now, that's a statistical number to show multiple drives, but it shows how little drives fail. The DSi 501 was 11,000 hours. So at 1% of today's numbers. That's like 2 months of operation.
Yeah, that's incredibly short.
If you left this thing on for 2 months, the odds were now favorable that you were going to have an error, which breaks my brain. And now we're getting, easily 5 to 10 years out of hard drives.
Sure.
And we're grumpy about that. And you're like, this wasn't that long ago. This was 40 years ago.
Wow.
You couldn't get 2 months out of one. It's bananas how far we've come on this thing.
You used to look at the hard drive wrong, and the heads didn't even park.
Yeah.
So you had to, if you moved your computer, you destroyed your hard drive. If you
auto parking heads. The other thing that was
a big advance.
I'm really surprised I was able to find the manual for this hard drive. The other thing about the manual that I am not making up, the last third of the manual just shows you packing instructions for the hard drive, how to transport it.
I'm sure.
How to put it in a box with foam and a little separator here and foam here. Because these things, like Jeff said, if you looked at it wrong, the head would literally crash into the disk and damage the disk. And that was before you had auto parking heads. You remember you had a command called park.
Sure.
And you'd run park just to park the drives. So anyway, the long and short of it is we are old men.
Is that what this means?
That's this whole segment is just to let people know that we are old men.
In our younger days, people would chisel the data into the stone.
The Davong DSi 501, 1982.
Fantastic.